Alright, welcome back to Kamen Rider Review, episode number 38. This one discussing episodes 29 through 35. I'm also giving my final thoughts on Kamen Rider X. Yep, we pretty much in a way wrap up Kamen Rider X with these last 7 episodes. Yes, 7 episodes. Yes. In the case of episode 29, it's basically Kamen Rider versus a shapeshifting chameleon while looking for pieces, a piece of the design. That's most of what this one is. Yeah. In the case of 30, trying to kill with a swamp thing, and of course, supposedly get the Postica pieces, but nope, they're fake. Yeah. Though this is actually a couple times where you have them getting the piece and of course showing off to King Dark, and it turns to be fakes. Yep. But in the case of 31, 31 is simply this. It's the most noteworthy thing that happens in this episode is that we have the start of, get this, King Dark standing up, and then at the end of 32, I had some problems with 32, where despite the fact I know that this is the episode we finally get a chance to see King Dark stand up completely and basically break through some walls and stuff like that. Yeah, see him stand for the first time in the series after being basically lying down the whole time. Why he's lying down is never really explained in the series. But the problem I have with 32 is this. I couldn't really I understand a little bit of some of the stuff going on in the episode. The problem is the site I was using for subtitles, they actually put the wrong subtitles there. Yes, they put the subtitles episode 23 there for some reason. This actually was the only episode of this arc where it didn't begin with a little explanation of that professor who was killed off in episode 23, who created these pieces that was basically the quest that was basically consumed the rest of this whole series. Yep. Yeah, but in the case of like the final few episodes, well, despite the fact that, well, the 32nd episode stand King Dark versus X-Ray, it's basically in the way of build up to the finale. And then simply put, for 33 and 34, we see the return of V3 and Kamen number 2. Yeah, they pop up here for basically 33 and 34 to basically help out looking for the next couple pieces. It's great they basically brought them in. I love basically how they show up, where the only thing it's them is basically, oh yeah, throw some rocks at them, at the monster, and they're like, oh yeah, that's how they show up there. Yep. Absolute great to see these two. Sadly, this will be the only time these two, in the case of Kamen number 2, this actually is these 2 episodes will be the only time he appeared in this series. But it's always great to see Kamen number 2. For V3, in the case of 33 and 34, this will be his last appearance for 2 years, because he has not returned again until the final 6 during the final arc of Kamen Rider Stronger, along with V3. Also, that's when Rider Man and Kamen Rider 1 returns. But in the case of the final episode, because they basically built the Ares device, they think they got everything, but apparently there was like one missing piece, apparently. So, Tiger Negro, who actually was the final original monster, because the one appearance of 35, he just a reused costume from a defeated monster. The only thing they changed by him is put Junior on his chest. Yeah, seriously, it's the son of a monster that he defeated back episode 24. Yeah. So in the case of 34, he gets that piece, and of course, it's a team episode, and the device is destroyed, though the ending of the episode pretty much in the way sets up the final episode. Now, why in the world that V3 and Kamen number 2 are not there, it's not really explained why they're not there. They're just simply that there's a mention of them in the episode, but they don't physically appear. Simply put, the whole thing with the final episode is looking for King Dark, and they do find him. And at one point, you have Toshi and the 2 girls get kidnapped, like usual. At least on how Toshi turned into an actual creature this time, which That was different. Yes, I'll get some more of that. I'll get to more of that. So they eventually do find him, and of course they we have this sort of like, I would say this is a little bit of stock footage kind of in a way, where they finally find King Dark and they basically have Kyrex open these two doors up, which is the same doors he did from the Five Ray vs. King Dark movie, except that it actually sort of had King Dark there, but just a shadow of him. This actually was the actual stronghold of his, and he basically sort of like gassed somebody, so we got no problem. And then we see King Dark walking around in his, well, because he's a giant. Oh, he says, I'm an immortal giant, you can't beat me. Of course, he tries smashing away inside of the thing. Smashing his eye doesn't work. If you go, the mouth. That might be a good place. So he shoots up right in the mouth, and it appears like he's most like a blocks the, his cyclone blocks the mouth. And you see be a bunch of goons inside of King Dark. Yes, King Dark has robots minions inside. And of course, the monsters have play there. And after going through several doors, he finally gets to control him, and he comes across this doctor. Oh boy. This guy here. Let me show you what this guy looks like here, because it is baffling that this guy is like, oh, this guy is the big bad. The real big bad of Kamen Rider X. I mean, we spent 35 episodes thinking it was this mysterious guy who would just take on the lead of the Great Leader Shocker when he, well, was there. Basically, your final villain is Dr. Notori. Yeah. That's your big bad. This guy with his weird brain. He says when he meets up with them, he's like, oh, I know your father. I'm Dr. and I'm your father's best friend. Seriously? Why would a man's best friend? I think they mentioned, and they mentioned the episode that, oh, we kind of mentioned this guy way back in episode 1. Yes, episode 1. And of course, the monster is there, and then of course of course Kamen X turns around and gets stabbed by the creature, and then of course, well, he takes out part of it. Of course, part of it doesn't have his body. It looked like he was getting no problem with that spear, and then he basically has the monster and Dr. Tori, where they're basically near each other, and he sees to take out his stick and pull something that basically the Red Sentai Rangers, a couple I've seen. Or he proceeds to stab them right through the freaking gut, right through the monster, right through the other guy. And he's like, screw, and the Dr. is like, he's like dying, like, screw this. Takes the wires out of his head, and then King Dark explodes. Yeah, and that's pretty much the end of basically the God organization. Yeah, his destruction is the end of the organization. Now, then of course they imply he died. He's like probably died a couple times. So he writes a letter, goes off his new journey, and that's it. Next time you see him won't be until the final 6 episodes, the final arc of Kamen Rider Stronger. My final thoughts on X is it's a good series. Excuse me. The only problem I have with the series is the final villain. Yeah, where it's a guy we mentioned back in episode 1, and this is the guy that was mentioned by Jin's father. Yes, seriously. Way back in episode 1, we mentioned this guy, and it's a guy with blue skin and a blue head. Yeah, this is the most disappointing aspect about Kamen Rider X. The true leader of the government of darkness. A blue guy with a big head. Okay? But still, love the monsters they had here. Very memorable. None forgettable. Though it does use similar tropes to the previous Kamen Rider series, like reviving dead monsters, something they do several times in the original one, and a few times in X. This one only happened just like 3 times. Like the first one happened was 21, also happened 27, 28, and finally the movie. The movie, I'm not surprised because bigger budget. I love the aspect of the movie where you have the 5 Kamen Riders. The first 5 at this point in time, we have 5 Kamen Riders all teaming up for basically for an adventure to battle a bunch of monsters. That I thought was a really cool concept. I absolutely love the movie. I thought it was really good. And good tease for the finale for it. Now, King Dark, love his look. It's a good retro look for the 70s. It reminds me a lot of Mechagodzilla, which basically, fun fact, the first Mechagodzilla, I think the second one was Mechagodzilla from the Tenrek Godzilla, I believe was just released, if I remember correctly reading when the year the movie came out. I think it was either just before or after the series. And, of course, it's Tokusatsu working with the creator of the series for this. And this actually is the first ever giant robot we ever see ever in Tokusatsu history that's not Ultraman. Yeah, in case you're going to ask, Nick, do you plan to review Ultraman at some point in time? I have currently no plans to review Ultraman. No plans at all. There's too much stuff there, and I basically am reviewing three Tokusatsu series, but I do not need to review a 4th or 5th one right now. Yes. Though, let's see, was there anything else? Well, overall, I only had 2 problems with the subbing for this series, just episodes 25 and 32. For 25, the subbing was going by coming in too early. In the case of 32, wrong subtitles. They were in English, definitely, but they were subtitles over 23. It's the only problem I had with the episode itself. But otherwise, though, the episodes I've got good villains. Surprisingly, we only had just a public guest for a while. We had this mysterious voice who's the Supreme Commander God, and then I think it's later revealed that it was apparently King Dark himself. Why the heck they dropped the concept of the Supreme Commander himself? They never really explained in the series. It's like, oh, maybe he's going to be something more. My guess is probably the reason they introduced King Dark is because, and this is my personal theory, I think the ratings were slipping at this point in time. I don't think the ratings were that good. I think they were planning to do more episodes of this series, but they had to change due to a rating slippage. And I think in the case of Paul Guest himself, they probably killed him off, probably for a similar reason. The ratings were slipping, so they decided to try to give it life support, but give it a new villain who was quite interesting. But the ratings still slipped, and that's probably the reason why it lasted for at least 35 episodes. Possibly, yes. It's not a terrible series per se, it's just that it's kind of short. And only 35 episodes. Lucky enough, also the next 2 are not that long either. Now, the next Kamen Rider series, I'm just going to reveal the next 2 I'm going to do. Amazon and Stronger. That'll be the next 2 I'm going to do. But before I get to those 2, I'm going to do some series before Amazon, the next work I'm going to do. Basically, I'm going to be working on, a total of 42 episodes of Go Range. Not in a row, take a break for that one. And also a couple of different anime. Which anime I'm going to work on, you'll find out when I get to it. Okay, so that's definitely it, particular view. Stay tuned for my reviews for Izuru Girls Dungeon, One Piece, Case Closed, and Boruto. Okay, next video. Oh yeah, and also possibly Go Range. Okay, bye.